Hello, my name is Antonia, and for my week 6 assignment, I will be doing a comparative analysis from a psychodynamic perspective. So here, I have a quote from Sigmund Freud, as everyone knows, is the father of the psychodynamic perspective or psychoanalyst, however which you want to define it. So it says the mind is like an iceberg. It floats with 1/7 of its bulk above water. I really like this quote because, if you really think about it, the mind is like an iceberg. But let's get on to the other slides. So today I will be talking about Tina Jones. She is a 30-year-old female. She never has been married, does not have any children. She comes from a middle class background. Her mother feels like Tina is a disappointment because she's not married and does not have any children. Also, as a young child, Tina was abused by her father. She currently holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and works as a police officer. She often experiences depression and has mental breakdowns, and also suffers from PTSD due to her childhood experiences. So, on Tina's Facebook page, Miss Tina Jones, she exhibits excessive alcohol consumption. She mostly posts her worries and expresses suicidal thoughts on Facebook. She also refuses to seek counseling in regards to her childhood traumas, additionally counseling for her depression, and also counseling with both of her parents. Carl Jung, he was one of Sigmund Freud's students of teaching, and then he later developed his own theory. So, a persona, which Carl Jung developed, is also known as a mask, which is the outward face we present to the world. So, in other words, Tina, when she's out in public, or when she's out at work, or when she's around her friends, she puts on a mask, thinking to herself, oh, everything is okay, everything's going to be okay. Basically, Tina puts on the persona, covering up her depression. Another archetype of Carl Jung, awareness of self. Tina is not yet fully aware of herself, given the fact that she does have an addiction to alcohol and suffers from depression and also has mental breakdowns. Shadow. Many of the shadow parts of Tina are not yet being acknowledged. As I stated before, she has an addiction and has issues in regards to both of her parents, depression, and her PTSD. So those issues will need to be acknowledged. Trickster. The trickster appears in Tina's dreams as a laughing guard who swallows the key to her cell. Tina's dream illustrates the trapped feelings she feels about her childhood and relationship with her parents. Although Tina yells back, proclaiming her innocence and good nature, it falls on deaf ears as an indicator that even though Tina is a good person, she is still trapped with her addiction to alcohol, depression, and relationship with her parents. Sigmund Freud, defense mechanisms. So there is three defense mechanisms that I will be discussing. Splitting, projection, and repression. Splitting, object relations in self-psychology, refers to the inability to see an individual as an integrated whole that has both negative and positive qualities. Projection refers to falsely attributing one's own unacceptable feelings, impulses, or wishes onto another without being aware of what one is doing. Repression. describes the unconscious process that occurs when the superego seeks to repress the its innate impulses and drives. Tina would need to decrease the use of splitting, projection, and repression to protect herself from feeling criticized by self and her mom to help reduce her depression. Dream interpretation and free association bring the sources of inner conflict to conscious awareness, especially as it relates to early childhood family traumas related to the abuse suffered by her father. And this slide is the compare and contrast, and I use this graph because this is basically the assumption and then comparing and contrasting Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud. So, there's three assumptions: nature and purpose of the libido, nature of the unconscious, and causes of behavior. So you can see Jung and Freud have their own perspectives on three of these assumptions. Psychodynamic perspective, Sigmund Freud. Psychoanalytic therapy is basically to help patients better understand the unconscious forces that can play a role in current behaviors, thoughts, and emotions. So I believe this therapy would be beneficial to Tina because it would bring awareness of her issues and the depth of what caused her issues. Levels of consciousness. Due to Tina's depression, which have a long history, she says that she has felt a sense of worry most of her life. It is likely there is quite an amount of unconscious material related to her current situation. Structures of self. Despite accomplishing her bachelor's in criminal justice and becoming a police officer, at this point it is creating for Tina a sense of depression, which she describes her mother's criticism as the main source of her overpowering superego. Some areas of concerns I would mainly address is her excessive alcohol use, her depression, and relationship with both of her parents. Ego psychology and drive theory. This is another area that, not really an area, but somewhat of a therapy that I would see if it fits Tina's situation. So, ego psychology and drive theory. And on this side, I had the Sigmund Freud's view of the human mind, the mental iceberg. So, you got the conscious level, pre-conscious level, and unconscious level. Tina has redirected her liminal energy into her work to avoid relationships and to find a sense of self-individualization. Dream analyst, free association, and analyst of transference. For Tina, we would have to identify her unresolved past traumas. So, her unresolved past traumas would be the abuse handed out by her father, her alcohol use, her depression, and the reason for her mental breakdowns. My main focus would first to basically choose to focus on her mental well-being. In conclusion, the client displays behavior in an online persona that is contradictory to behavior in reality. The individual is usually kind and moral person, but desperately tries to make her mother happy. The individual should seek counseling to find the depth of her alcohol issue. The client should be referred to family counseling with both parents with the use of psychoanalytic therapy. Dream analyst, free association, and analyst of transference. The psychoanalytic perspective provides how early childhood experiences in which may have shape the individual and how it contributes to her current actions. It's my sources that I used, and I hope you enjoyed this PowerPoint.